Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lucas Mahala, Marketing Manager from the Utimaco Corporate Marketing. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. We will begin in the next few minutes, and we would like to give all participants the possibility to follow the presentation from the beginning. We appreciate your patience. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending our webinar organized by Utimaco. My name is Lucas Mahala. I am a part of the Utimaco marketing department. Before we start, please let me introduce our product manager team, Mr. Manish Upasani and Mr. Dieter Bong. Today, we would like to talk about how to discover our new u.trust 360 platform, your centralized management and remote monitoring solution. This webinar is being recorded and we will make it available soon on our website in the link you will see in the chat box later. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function in your Zoom window. Later, I will moderate your questions and we will discuss your questions when the presentation is finished. At this point, I would like to wish you an interesting webinar, and I would like to hand over to Manish.
Thank you, Lucas. Good morning, good afternoon, from wherever you're joining from. My name is Neha Passani, and I'm here, the product manager for the u.trust 360 and Atalla product suites. Today, we are going to talk about u.trust 360. And before we get into the topic, I would like to quickly introduce you to the Utimaco Atalla payment solutions, especially about Utimaco Atalla AT1000, which is FIPS 140-2 level 3 and PCI PTS version 3 certified payment hardware security module, something that is used to protect the sensitive data. It is the trust vector that gives you the peace of mind when you walk into an ATM and key in your PIN, especially to a bank where you do not have any relationship. The Atalla HSM is the one that works in the background to make sure that your PINs, your transactions are kept secure, irrespective of how the transaction flows, irrespective of who you bank with, irrespective of if the bank that you're walking into is your native bank or you're coming in from overseas. It doesn't really matter. End of the day, the payment HSM like Atalla AT1000 is the magic that happens in the background that protects your credit card, debit card, and ATM cards for that matter. It also helps you with key injection or the new generation e-wallets and online mobile payments and so on. All of these things are protected, and the trust is established in all of these networks using the Atalla AT1000. When you do this, it is very important that you meet the industry standards and compliance. And as I said, Atalla AT1000 already conforms with PCI PTS, FIPS 140-2 level 3, and other mandates in the payment card industry as defined by MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Union Pay, Discover, and other payment standards. At a very high level, a few important features on top of everything else that we talked about is the Atalla AT1000 is designed for redundancy, is designed to make sure that the HSMs are there when you need it. Doesn't matter what goes wrong, every single thing on the hardware is redundant. Number two is it is very important that, especially when we are living in today's world, the ability to be able to manage your HSM infrastructure remotely in a secure fashion is very important. So the Atalla AT1000 is designed for lights out data centers, and it conforms to that use cases, especially when you are distant and working from the comfort of your own chair. You can work on the same HSM from two different geographic locations. Like here I am in California, and my colleagues are out there in Germany, especially in Aachen. Both of us can work on an HSM that is installed in Singapore, for example. And last but not the least is whatever we do have a keen eye towards the security and compliance. Everything that we do is within the boundaries of that. The next thing that I'd like to introduce you is to the general purpose HSM, the Utimaco CryptoServer. To explain CryptoServer, I'll keep it simple. When it comes to payments, it's Atalla. But when it comes to anything except payments, this is where the CryptoServer comes into the picture. I would say that anybody who is serious about security, serious about the confidentiality of their infrastructure, CryptoServer is the best match. It conforms to the best standards available out there in the industry. We are talking about EAL4, common criteria EAL4. We are talking about FIPS 140-2 level 3. We are talking about the different cryptographic APIs, because when it comes to the general purpose HSMs, it is all about those cryptographic APIs that you can talk and that you want to make sure that be able to integrate with various different applications that exist out there, and also with your homegrown applications, be it PKCS 11, be it Java cryptography extension, that's JCE, be it the Microsoft APIs, and so on. And on top of that, it is very vital that the HSM integrates or have a ready-made integration with various different applications out there. So be it the public key infrastructure with the PKI, certificate generation, and those kind of things, or when it comes to encrypting the databases for your encryption at rest, and so on. So all of these use cases is what catered by the CryptoServer. Talking about a few, again, important features of it, just like Atalla AT1000, it is designed for redundancy. It is designed for the lights out data centers, making sure that once you assign an IP address to the box, there is absolutely no reason to ever touch it. It does also have the right SNMP monitoring and those kind of things where it can alert you should something go wrong. And also support the remote management aspects, true random number generation, where we have that same keen or detailed eye towards the security. In a nutshell, everything that we do with the Atalla HSM or with CryptoServer is under the same umbrella of making sure that it is compliant. A quick introduction to utrust 360. utrust 360 takes a center stage within the Utimaco's portfolio. Well, the utrust 360 is designed as a centralized monitoring and management platform, which will cater to every single thing that we do within Utimaco. We started small at some point of time with 81,000, which is our Atalla HSM. That is where we started. And we added some tiny little bits because we are trying to establish utrust 360 as a platform. We started small. We were only being able to monitor the 81,000, and that too not a lot of different things that a payment HSM should be monitored against. We started small with 81,000, and with the second release, that is version 2.0, that will be available beginning of April. I'm officially welcoming the CryptoServer onto the utrust 360 family. So let's take a step back quickly and try to see what is it that I'm trying to propose here? What am I trying to solve? What are the problems that you typically face? If I come in and ask you a few very basic questions about your HSM infrastructure, for example, how prepared are you for the audits? Do you have the audit compliance reports ready when the auditor shows up? Or are you ready for the peak times within your business? For example, the holiday shopping season and those kind of times where your entire infrastructure is challenged with peak volume of transactions. Are you prepared for it? Or if the HSMs that I have today, are they causing any kind of bottleneck in my environment? Or do I have enough capacity to prepare for, again, those peak business hours? How do I know if my HSMs are offline? How do I get alerted? Is it something that the application team comes back running to me saying that, hey, your HSMs are not responding? Or do I get alerted, or am I the first to know if something goes wrong with my HSMs? A couple of more things that I would mention here is history and analytics. How do I find the historical data about my HSMs if they are being bottlenecked? What happened during the last peak business hours? Was I running up to 80% of my capacity? Was I running up to 50% of my capacity? What exactly my business looked like? And last but not the least is log management. how am I managing my logs? Because the moment I talk about compliance, it is very important that the logs and that log management and configuration status is something that must be managed locally. Now, you can imagine that answer to these questions will be a little bit difficult to find. And when it comes to audits, all of these questions do play a role. The solution that I'm presenting today to you is utrust 360. utrust 360 gives you the convenience that you'll be able to manage, monitor your cryptographic real estate from a centralized location. In a nutshell, I'm trying to crack open the HSM, which was being managed or which is being managed as a black box. It need not be a black box anymore. Using U360, there are a few benefits that I would like to get it on the table before we make further, progress into the presentation. The very first and foremost is increasing the awareness. As I said, I'm trying to crack open that black box. The moment we do that, you get to know what's happening on your HSM real estate, and you're not doing any kind of guesswork. That, yeah, well, I think my TPS or my transactions last time or during the peak business hours is 10. That's my assumption. And I don't have a data to prove that. So you don't have to have any guesswork. We are trying to remove that guesswork. The moment you'll be able to monitor and have enough real estate of HSMs or have enough HSMs ready, something go wrong, it is obviously going to help you to reduce any kind of operating cost, avoiding any kind of downtime as well. A centralized log repository for compliance reporting is obviously something that everybody in this business appreciates. So that's another important aspect. Then last but not the least is an AIO dashboard along with real-time alerts. When it comes to the security operations centers or eyes on glass situations, it is very important that the HSMs being able to monitored and alerted in the way they should be. Because when it comes to the regular knock and SOC people, anything that is coming from an HSM is high critical for them, because HSMs are the most important assets in your environment. And you don't want to get a call at 2 a.m. in your night, especially talking about payment HSMs, that there are pin failures happening. The HSMs are designed to protect you against those kind of situations. So even though the HSMs on their own do support SNMP and those kind of things, you want to be alerted for the critical and someone who should be able to draw that line, especially the one who understands HSM business, the one who have actually designed those HSMs will be the best entity to alert you around the clock about something going wrong. And at the same time, drawing the right analytics from the HSM. Talking about the benefits, here are a few important features of the utrust 360. Number one is monitoring the performance and especially the usage of your HSM devices. When it comes to monitoring the performance, we are talking about the CPU usage. We are talking about the different cryptographic operations that are happening on your HSM. Are you talking about 80 transactions per second? Are you talking about 100 transactions per second? Are you talking about 15,000 transactions per second? How does your entire HSM real estate looks like? Is it busy? Is it not busy? The next thing is a great idea to have a single monitoring platform that manages and monitors your payment HSMs as well as the general purpose HSMs. So a centralized platform that can cater to both the use cases is very important. The next thing is when it comes to the HSMs, again, we are all security-centric people, and we don't want to give access to our infrastructure to everybody. So typically, the role-based access control model plays a role in there, and we do want to have the same kind of security, the same kind of access control to even the monitoring platform or management platform in such a way that only those who are responsible to manage a specific cryptographic assets should be able to access, even though we are talking about the monitoring data. So that is something that has been handled on utrust 360 with an external connection with, let's say, Active Directory, where you can offload the user management, and leveraging that, you can always have a role-based access control model, which we will look into it as we make progress through the presentation. And last but not the least, that when it comes to the administrating an important asset, it is also important that how that asset itself is being administered. So it does support SNMP, LDAP, email alerting should something go wrong, and also do have an internal certificate management where you will be able to all the communication in between the HSM or within the different components of utrust 360 that we will see in the very next slide is protected. And obviously, the standard operations like backup and restore, upgrades, the centralized license management are one of the few features that I would like to introduce onto the utrust 360. Talking quickly about the deployment model. The deployment model is really, really simple, yet effective. The idea here is to be able to cater to your own network architecture, something that you throw in there and it will just adapt to your environments. I, being an HSM administrator, certainly does not like to be exposed, doesn't certainly like that I would expose my HSMs to a wider network. I would like to keep it contained within a specific network compartment. Hence, we have got two different components within utrust 360. One, what we call it as a manager, and the second one, what we call it as the utrust 360 gateway. The utrust 360 gateway is a polling engine that talks to the HSM and pull the right data from it. And after that data is being pulled, the raw data is further fed to a utrust 360 manager, which works as an analytical and user interface engine that serves that data in a user presentable format further down to the HSM admin. Using this hub and spoke model, you can see that different data centers, different network compartments can serve you the data in a centralized fashion. If you want to further enhance it, the utrust 360 manager can also be deployed on cloud on one of the cloud service providers. And from there, you can feed the data through the utrust 360 gateways from your different data centers, from your different network environments. And that way you will be able to manage and monitor your HSMs in a seamless fashion. With that, let me talk quickly about the device gateway. As I said, it is a centralized, I would say, a communication engine that talks to the HSM. The utrust 360 manager does not directly talk to the HSM, whereas it is the device gateway. Now, your device gateway, if you prefer, can be installed on a single machine that works as a utrust 360 manager, or works as a utrust 360 gateway, or both. Or you can have two separate instances, and each one of them is serving a unique purpose. The communication in between the gateway and manager is all TLS protected and authenticated at the same time. And a single instance of utrust 360 manager can talk to multiple device gateways. There is no limit on how many device gateways are being supported. So, and then moving on to one of the most important aspects is the dashboard. Dashboard is all about last 24 hours. It is an answer to a simple question that asks, hey, what happened on your cryptographic real estate during last 24 hours? Here is the answer. In last 24 hours, I executed approximately 440,000 commands. Out of that, 40,000 commands were done on the payment HSMs, and remaining 100,000 commands were executed on the general purpose HSMs. I have 50 HSMs in my environment, and out of those 50 HSMs, only 30 HSMs are being utilized. Rest 20 are just sitting idle. They are not doing anything. Nobody's talking to them. I don't know, why do I have them? Or out of those 50 HSMs, only 30 devices are online. There is a problem with remaining 20, and they are going online, offline, and I do get alerted on those devices. And obviously the CPU utilization of that entire HSM real estate, and who is at the peak of the curve, and so it is with the crypto operations, who's at the peak of the curve, is something that can be seen from the dashboard. If you want to drill further down at a device specific level, you can always do that by going into the device specific, where now this screenshot that you see here is about an Atalla HSM, and similar screenshot or similar information can be seen from a CryptoServer as well, where you can go further into details and see what different commands are being monitored and how the analytical data is being pulled. You can go back in time, depending upon how back you would like to go. And you do have those speed buttons, and you can always have a specific date where you want to fetch the data for. That information can be fed. Another thing I was talking about, the role-based access control model. We do have two different preceded user roles. One is called an administrator, which does have unrestricted access to the HSMs, or well, to the utrust 360 environment, whereas the second access is called monitor, and this provides a read-only access to the HSM real estate, to the HSM monitoring environment. And we also have a concept of device groups, and this is where you can tie those two things together in such a way that a specific group of people, a specific group of, I would say, administrators do have access to a specific group of HSMs. That mix and match, and that's what gives you the right role-based access control models. With this role-based access control models, when something goes wrong, you do get alerted as well. Different alerts could be if the HSM is going offline, if the HSM is shooting beyond a specific CPU threshold, or if the HSM has rebooted, or if the HSM has failed its cryptographic sanity checks that runs every X amount of hours, or so on. So all of those different types of alerts are being sent out to the same people who are responsible for their own HSMs. When you subscribe to that channel, when you subscribe to that mailing list, to the alerts from utrust 360, you get alerted about the HSMs that you are responsible for, not trying to spam you, but give you the right information at the right level. With all of these different features, how do you deploy it? How do I deliver it? It is being delivered as an OVA image that is ready to be downloaded from our website. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can always deploy utrust 360 as a hardware appliance as well. So in a nutshell, it is available as a VM, a virtual machine, or it is also available as a hardware appliance. And you can download that virtual machine free of charge from the Utimaco support website. You can deploy it on your choice of hypervisor. And right now we are supporting AT1000 as well as the utrust 360 using the hub and spoke model that I explained earlier, which talks about a manager, which is a centralized management console, provides a single pane of glass for everything that is happening within your network infrastructure, and the device gateway, which is an alerting as well as a monitoring engine that talks to the HSMs and feeds the raw data further down to the manager, which draws analytics on top of that. Talk about the licensing, which is really simple. It is as simple as one license per HSM that you need. And we do allow you to monitor your HSMs and see the benefit that utrust 360 provides out of the box, free for 30 days. You can download it from support.hsm.utimaco.com. After registering onto the download portal, you will be able to download a copy and you can deploy it and see the benefits that it provides you. So that was about utrust 360. And what I would like to do from here is give you a quick overview in a nutshell before I go into a product demo that I have planned for you guys. A quick overview of what is new, what is coming down the pipe as a part of utrust 360 version 2.0, which will be available later by the end of this month. What I'm doing here is as I said, welcoming the CryptoServer onto the utrust 360 platform, where I'm going to monitor its CPU utilization, its transactions monitoring, being able to alert you should something go south, integrated into the device dashboard, email the alerts, and generate some device compliance reports to get you ready for the audits. On the flip side, the Atalla AT1000, I'm pushing my limits or pushing the features further down, where now I'm monitoring up to 10 different kinds of transactions that one can do on the AT1000. On top of it, I'm monitoring a whole bunch of different failures, which can tell you if somebody's trying to cause a denial of service or and pin exhaustion and those kind of attacks against the HSM. And now it is also available as a hardware appliance with an enhanced appliance management system that runs in the background that makes sure that your hardware appliance is healthy and being able to serve you the right kind of data. Before I get into the device demo, or before we actually look into the utrust 360 UI and click around and show you the different features and how it looks like, maybe I can take a quick pause and see, Lucas, if you have any questions from the audience that you would like to feed in at this time.
Yes, Manish, thank you so far. We have received already some questions. Let's start with the first one. Are there any differences in handling utrust 360 between the software and the hardware appliance? Can I mix them as needed?
Absolutely. So there is no difference from the user perspective, from a presentation perspective, from the capabilities and features perspective in between the hardware and the software or the VM. Both of them serve the exact same purpose. It just depends upon your comfort level. It just depends upon your policies and so on, whether you feel comfortable with a VM or you would like to deploy it as a hardware appliance. End of the day, it's your choice. Both of them provide you the exact same kind of support and features. And you can mix and match, like you would like to have a manager as a hardware appliance and all of your sensors to be a VM or vice versa. Please feel free to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Manish, for answering the first question. Let's take another one, maybe. Is there a dependency on the firmware versions of Atalla AT1000 and CryptoServer LAN V5?
Well, great. That's a good question. No, there is no dependency. While we designed this, we are making sure that we are making it backward compatible, so that irrespective of the firmware versions that you are running on an AT1000 or on a crypto server, you should be able to manage it irrespective. I don't want you to upgrade your CryptoServer firmware or your 81000 firmware to a specific level so that you will be able to monitor it. So no, there is no dependency. And with that, maybe it's a good idea to just get into the application UI and see how that looks like. So what you see right now here is the UI of my instance, which is deployed in my lab here in Campbell. And I just logged in, and this is what you see here. As you can see, I have approximately 9 HSMs. Out of that, 5 HSMs are not utilized. I'm not using them. And 2 general purpose HSMs are in use out of 5 that I have. Whereas on the payment side, I'm using 2 HSMs out of 4. So that kind of gives me a bird's eye view of what's happening in my environment. Talking about the crypto operations, how many crypto operations have I run? On a payment HSM, I have done approximately 64,000 transactions, whereas on the general purpose HSM, I see that there are 7,000 transactions in last 24 hours. Again, everything on the dashboard is for last 24 hours. And as far as the status is concerned, everybody's online, everything is green. I have no alerts coming in. Talking about the CPU utilization, out of everything else, there is 1 HSM that is causing the peak. But apart from that, it is kind of an average of 6% or 7%. That's the CPU utilization, because this CPU utilization is calculated on the entire 9 HSMs that I have. And on the flip side, I do have the crypto operations, what is happening on the HSM side. If I'm interested in the general purpose, I can always go into the general purpose and see what's happening on the general purpose HSM side. Whereas if I'm interested in payments, this is what is happening on the payment HSM side. So, and then as you hover on the graph, it tells you that what are the exact numbers for that HSM at that specific hour. Further down, you can see audit logs on what a specific user did whenever the user logged in and the different operations. And if there are any alerts that require your attention are being showed in this particular screen. Now, as I said, we can always dig a little bit deeper and see what else is going on in the HSM real estate. Now, I can look at it at a group level. So when I come here, you see that I have got 2 different groups here. One is a payment HSMs group and one is a general purpose HSM group. So this is how the payment HSM group looks like. I can see that at a group level, I'm using approximately 3% of the CPU. And these are the different commands that are being run right now. If I'm interested in looking at the peak HSM, how that compares with my global average. So there is one HSM which is causing the CPU to shoot up to 7% at different intervals. And that is how the peak as well as the average is being calculated. The same is true with the crypto operations as well. I can see that how does that compare with the overall group of the HSMs. And so it is the case with the different verification failures on how that looks like based upon what am I interested into. I can always go further down and dig deeper at a device level on how does that look like. So as you can see here, the CPU is at a specific level, and the different functionalities, depending upon what time or point of time I'm interested in, it is giving me that, okay, at this hour, command 11 did approximately 252 transactions and so on. So all that data is available as you hover onto it. And you obviously do have the speed buttons where you can go back in time and see how that looks like over a period of time. So that's about this. And last but not the least is verification failures. Right now, I have added 4 different verification failures, which are, in my opinion, are important. One is a pin verification failure. If the pin sanity is failing, if the CVV, CVC, CSC, and those kind of things have failures, and the last but not the least is if there is message authentication code MAC failures reported by the payment HSM. On the flip side, I can always go into the crypto server, and this is how the crypto server operations look like. The CPU utilization, I see that it is causing spikes at different intervals, and then the different cryptographic operations that I'm doing over the hour. We can always go back in time and see how that looks like, and so on. So the speed buttons are obviously applicable here as well. This is all about monitoring, looking at the device management and pulling the right data from the HSM. This is my device dashboard where you can see that I have got different HSMs being added in here. Looking at the AT1000 to start with, it gives me all the device related details. For example, what is the number of domains that are configured? This HSM happens to be in a trial state, so the trial version will expire in X amount of time. The IP address, system date, what is the firmware version, what is the loader version that is running on the HSM, what are the MFKs and PMFKs are being added on the box. And last but not the least is the security policy. How does that look like? What commands, what functionalities have I enabled on it? From those enabled functionalities, this is where I can choose which 10 am I interested in. When it comes to the payment HSMs, 10 is a very good number. The amount of functions that one typically uses from an HSM. That you can choose, pick and choose here. Moving on to alerts, if there are any alerts that needs your attention, events is where you are trying to fetch if the HSM is online or if it is offline or any of those kind of things are there. Moving on to the logs, this is where the centralized repository of the logs that are being fetched from the HSM. Whatever is going on with the HSMs, we are pulling the system logs, we are pulling the activity logs, which basically talks about the different connections that are being accepted from different clients and so on. And last but not the least is the HSM audit log, which tells you everything that's going on with the HSM and its audit purposes. On the flip side, when we talk about crypto server, the same story yet again, obviously different parameters that we are presenting, for example, the serial numbers, the performance license, or the performance state of the HSM, the state, if it is in an alarm state or something similar, the IP address, date and time, the firmware versions, the MBK that is loaded on the HSM, and other parameters which are important to be monitored, like the internal battery state and so on, the uptime of the HSM, the power supply, if it is redundant or if it is not. One more feature that I never showed you on AT1000, but I can quickly show you here is I can always print a device specific report that gives me all the information about the HSM. And when I get this HSM, hopefully it will download. There you go. So it gives you all the information about the crypto server that we were just looking at, what we were able to see on the device dashboard. But apart from that, it also goes in further details where it pulls the users, the list of users from the HSM, the list of files that are stored on the box, the memory information, how is that looks like, and last but not the least is a detailed list of firmwares of the different modules as it is fetched from the HSM, followed by the CSLAN configuration file, which kind of tells you how your HSM is configured, All of these things are important when it comes to the audits or an auditor's view into the HSM. The logs are obviously here as well, where I'm pulling the HSM boot logs. I'm talking about the appliance logs as well as the audit logs when different things are happening on the HSM done by different admins. So that was all about the UI or the different things that you can and cannot do on the utrust 360 appliance or utrust 360 application for that matter. Going back to the presentation, I would like to talk quickly about the vision, about what is it in that we are trying to do about utrust 360. The idea here is to give you the entire analytical view of the HSM. We are trying to crack open that black box and be the front end for the entire HSM real estate, making it cloud ready. One solution for everything that we do, be it the Atalla HSM, be it the CryptoServer, be it our latest release, utrust Anchor, Keybridge portfolio, ESKM, which is the key manager within the utrust 360 portfolio. All of those things will be combined under the utrust 360 umbrella. Being able to pull the entire performance and benchmarking so that you can easily identify if there are any bottlenecks, to have a role-based access control model to make sure that the right people get the right access to the right assets. As we make progress through the roadmap and the different things around it, we would like to have a load balancer where you can have a centralized solution that lets you manage load across the multiple HSM, across multiple key managers, and so on. Being able to centrally administer. Today, we are doing monitoring, we are doing alerting, we are doing managing the HSMs, but being able to administer the HSMs centrally is another thing that the vision that we are painting with the utrust 360 as a product. And last but not the least is being able to provide you the right kind of audit reporting. We will be talking about compliance reports where you can have a specific compliance report. There are a few things that are interested, that one is interested and the second one is not. Our specific compliance demands a specific feature coming in from an HSM, whereas the second compliance wants you to report a different feature or different aspect of it. All of those things combining together and presenting you in a ready to present audit compliance report is something which is vital and is a vision for the product. With that, let me hand it over to Lucas and see if there are any further questions that I can answer.
Thank you, Manish, for this interesting presentation. Of course, we have received some additional questions, and I suggest to start with the first one. Is the monitoring tool available as an on-prem version for a monitoring server, or is it just a cloud application?
No, absolutely. This is something, as I said, I'm delivering it in two different formats. One is a VM that you can deploy on your own existing infrastructure. You can configure that VM as a utrust 360 gateway or a utrust 360 manager, and you can configure it to adapt to your own network environment. And on cloud, sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Manish. The next question, what is the average pricing after the 30 days of testing?
That's a great question. I would really recommend you to get in touch with HSM at utimako.com, and someone from the sales team will get in touch with you. But I can tell you that it is very cheap, or I would say rightly priced without breaking your bank.
Thank you, Manish. The next question from Rasmus Bergström. Can the utrust 360 platform also manage Utimaco's CP5 HSMs?
Absolutely. There is no reason why we cannot manage CP5 HSMs. We are using the CSADM modules to monitor the HSMs. So that is something which is same across the board. So yes, we can also talk to the CP5 HSM and pull the right analytics from it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Manish. Another question, how is the additional information, for example, number of crypto operations read out from the security server? Is a separate firmware module on security server required, or has the, I don't know the abbreviation here, SNMP be enhanced?
Yeah. Sure. So SNMP is a protocol, and what we are doing is, as I said, we are using the CSADM modules to talk to the crypto server. We are not using any additional firmware that you don't have, or as I said, you don't have to upgrade or adapt to a specific version of crypto server firmware. This is something that is backward compatible. And leveraging the CSADM modules that is already on the HSM, we are fetching that information and presenting it out to you on the graphs. We are not using SNMP here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Manish. The next question, will it be possible in future versions to manage HSMs of other vendors?
Yes, so that is something which is a part of the vision, and I should have got this here on the slide, but that is something which is part of the plan. And but right now, I'm starting small. I'm starting with Utimaco real estate, and as we will make progress through the product roadmap, we would be more than happy to welcome other HSMs onto the platform as well. I mean, we are calling it a platform for the exact same reason, so that you'll be able to not just have Utimaco HSMs or Utimaco real estate, but also non-Utimaco real estate, so that it will work out as a true single pane of glass for your entire cryptographic real estate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Manish. We have still some time available and also some questions, so let's take them,
Sure.
of course, also. Which API is used to monitor the crypto server? Do I need to share my username and password to monitor?
No, you don't. So that is another good thing about it is I'm not asking you to share any kind of confidential information, including credentials. The data I'm pulling from the crypto server does not require any authentication. I'm using CSADM modules to pull this data.
Okay, thank you. The next question, how does alerting work on u.trust 360?
Sure. So the alerting is I would say twofold. One is there are two kinds of alerts. One is when something goes south with the HSMs. HSMs do send SNMP traps to a utrust 360 gateway, and that utrust 360 gateway further feeds that information onto the utrust 360 manager, which is responsible for communicating with the email gateways and so on, which will send the light alerts down to the users, or I would say to the responsible users. That's one. The second category of alerts is when the HSM themselves are not responsive or not reachable, or there is a problem with the device gateways, and so on. So those things are proactively monitored by utrust 360 manager, and those alerts will be sent directly without having any relation or any dependency on the HSMs itself. You will get an email sent by utrust 360 that if an HSM is not available, or if the HSM shoots at CPU beyond a threshold that you define, and so on.
Okay, thank you, Manish. There's another question, maybe already partially answered, but let's see if you may add anything to it. utrust 360 is capable of monitoring CryptoServer LAN V5 appliances now as well. Are there plans to extend utrust 360 to further HSMs?
Yes, so as I answered that question, yes, we started small with 81,000. The next jump is welcoming CryptoServer, and we are making progress, and we will keep adding newer, I would say, HSMs onto the platform as we make progress.
Okay, thank you, Manish.
And maybe
Dieter?
I can, maybe I can just add a detail, because Manish also answered the question about CryptoServer CP5. And yes, so existing HSMs or HSM packages like security server, CryptoServer CP5 timestamp can already be monitored today. Just recently, we introduced our new HSM platform, the u.trust Anchor platform, and this is certainly also the next Utimaco HSM platform that will be able to be monitored by the utrust 360 solution.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dieter, for throwing that out there.
Yes, thank you, Dieter. Now we will take the last question for today. How many HSMs can utrust 360 monitor? Is there any limit?
There is no limit. I mean, I'm not placing any limit as long as you have the right resources available to your VM. You can go for it. I personally have added more than 200 cryptographic assets on the utrust 360, and there is, I mean, in a nutshell, there is no limit. We are not placing any limits.
Okay, thank you, Manish, for answering all of the questions. Those were all questions for today. So I would like to close the Q&A session. The recording of this webinar will be, of course, available on our website. Please visit the link you can see in the chat here. You will find the recording on the landing page there. So thank you, Manish, and thank you, Dieter, for letting us know the newest stuff about utrust 360. I would also like to say a big thank you to all of our participants today. Thank you for joining, and see you maybe in one of our next webinars. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.